So I'm the VP of HR over our outpatient division. We have just under 12,000 employees in that division, and we focus on outpatient physical and occupational therapy, as well as some specialties like cancer rehabilitation, speech language therapy, things like that. I arrived in this role from Talent Plus, actually. So I was a consultant before, and Select Medical was my client. So I switched over into the inside focus and haven't looked back. It's been 3 years and a few months, and my core areas of focus in my role are engagement, of course. We've got employee well-being, development, coaching, succession planning, training, all the things that make an organization really better. And that's really been my focus for the role is how can we move the organization to a better place in terms of its people? I think there's a lot of fatigue, a lot of stress, a lot of burnout. That's been a key focus for the last 2 years for me specifically. And as we work with individuals, it's really become apparent that they're craving something better for themselves. And I think leaders, organizations have to be able to accommodate that. They have to understand first and foremost, what is it this set of employees wants, right? Because in our world, our frontline non-clinical folks might want something different than our highly experienced clinicians do. Our leaders might want something different than both those groups. So individualization is kind of really important, and tools like Perceptics and assessments in general can really help you move toward that greater understanding of what do our employees need right now to feel good, and not just good's kind of a weak word. To really thrive in their roles, and not only at work, but also at home, because your work impacts your home life too. I think there was a lot that was going on said about, on that same topic, well-being, fatigue, burnout. I think it was a taboo topic for a lot of folks. They didn't want to go there because they felt like that was a personal thing. Like if you're feeling burned out, that's your deal. You deal with it. And I think organizations have recognized that because work is such a critical part of who a person is, they need to address it and address it head on with all their employees. So coaching leaders on how to be better stewards of their employee well-being, coaching leaders on how to maybe handle those tough conversations with individuals when they are not at their best, struggling, really not in a good place mentally or physically. So I think that's a big one. The other one is psychological safety. That's been probably the biggest eye opener for me is being an IO psychologist. I knew all about the concepts, but I've never been able to really go in and apply them every single day to my work. And I think the realization of employers and employees is we need this now more than ever to really feel at our best. I'm a very positive person, so I see lots of silver linings. One that jumped in my mind first is actually awareness. I think we've become more aware of the people all around us and how much we value them. I know working from home is something I've done for 14, 15 years of my career, so I was used to it. But I think a lot of my colleagues have been saying, I didn't know how much I valued that interaction with people, the face-to-face connection. And that's kind of juxtaposed with the fact that, well, we kind of want to stay working from home. So there's opposing forces pulling on individuals. Like, I really missed the connection, but I really love working from home. So it's that awareness of the importance of relationships, of connection, of for innovation and thought-provoking conversations. You just can't replace it. Zoom fatigue is very real. So that's one that kind of popped in my mind that's maybe a little bit unique. Conversations. Everything starts with good, open communication, flowing both ways, mutually understood. Um, and the foundation of that, I'm going to take it to a different place than maybe expected, but the foundation for it all is trust. If I trust you and you trust me, we're going to be able to have a really good conversation. We're going to be able to go to each other proactively, talk openly about what we need, what we expect. And I think a lot of that trust is harder to do when you're remote, when you're virtual. Not impossible by any means, but when you have good trust, communication flows. When you have good two-way communication, then things get done. Awareness is built, empathy is had. You end up with, I think, just a lot more of a good, positive dynamic. So when I think about the whole, what do we need right now? It's absolutely, we need to get back to a really strong place of trust, and that will facilitate communication and empathy and connectedness and all those things that we really need to thrive. So we're only on year 2 of our Perceptics journey, and we had a homegrown, internally developed assessment survey prior to this. And the thing was, we didn't really use the results all that well. We had results, but they were so manual, so time consuming that we really didn't use it all that much. When the first year we ended up with Perceptics last year, the first time we sent results out, I cannot tell you about the excitement, the number of calls that my team and I got when results were released, because people were like, oh my gosh, this is so eye-opening. This is so amazing to see where people are positive, where they're neutral, where they're negative. And I think that lens of awareness that Perceptics drives, it's just really powerful for leaders who care about change, who care about changing things in the right way. Even for those who are maybe resistant, it gives them something, maybe it's subconscious in the back of their mind, like they're like, I don't really want to change, I'm comfortable, status quo is okay for me, but then that's planted in the back of their mind, and you can't help but wonder, like, are they going to get there eventually? And I think we've seen where in the same regions, one leader took a very proactive approach and really did a whole lot with their results and the positive impact that had. And then another leader did a little bit less, not nothing, but they didn't do nearly as much. And the difference in engagement and camaraderie and retention, retention's a big one, obviously, with that. And, you can't predict everything that's going to cause somebody to leave, but we absolutely know that engagement is a key factor that will keep somebody at an organization, even if the company across the street offers a little bit more money or a little bit better benefits. If you have an engaging environment and your manager, your team, the patients that you treat, in our case, it can keep somebody there. So Perceptics is, you call it a listening tool. It's almost greater awareness of, what do we need to do to keep people and help them thrive? A lot of what Select Medical has done over the years has been homegrown. We do, of course, buy outside technology. Of course, everybody has, but a lot of our platforms that we have traditionally used have been homegrown, internal, and I actually actively avoid working in the technology side of it as much as possible because it's not my forte, and I have colleagues who do it well. So I can't speak as competently to the technology side of it, but I know that having an outside partner like Perceptics that have a very intuitive platform, like intuitive is probably the best word I can offer. It's simple, it's intuitive, it's just, it makes sense to use it. And I can't say the same for all of our tools out there. In fact, I'm not going to name names, but there's another platform that we're using right now, and unintuitive, like cumbersome, awkward are the words that were thrown out about how its user experience is. So the user experience for Perceptics has been, in my mind, the biggest positive with the technology, for sure. I happen to know a few people that work at Perceptics, and because I knew them, I knew their level of service excellence, right? Their service level was known to me. So when we were evaluating Perceptics against other vendors, customer service level was something we absolutely considered. And knowing that you have a team of dedicated service professionals who take service very seriously, that was a big selling point for us, versus getting an automated system or not having a system or anything to turn to at all. So yeah, that was a big factor. And knowing that, within the system itself, there's help built in. But honestly, I've only used the customer service line twice because it's just so easy. That's an interesting question. So when I think about the impact that it's made, I'm going to go back to communication because that was so when we had our results put out last year, there was a lot of people feeling overwhelmed. What do I do with all this? And the thing that we did, I came up with a 4-box basically to keep it as simple as possible. And the axes on the 4-box were effort by impact, right? Nothing supremely novel there, but I wanted our leaders to identify in that 4-box what impact can we have with the least amount of effort, and having leaders think about, all right, of the behaviors that are associated with these surveys, okay? So communication is very low effort because it's easy. Everyone can do it. You just need to make the time for it. Time is a valuable resource, but relative to revamping a technology system, right? Our IT team having to rebuild or redo a system, communication improvement is really simple, really low effort. But the impact it can have is substantial. It's really up there with everything we might need or want. So when we were able to kind of identify, like, all right, here's the top box for that. Lowest effort, highest impact, it's communication. And specifically senior leadership, communicating down. And communication needs to go both ways. I said that before, but when employees are just sitting there wondering, what does my senior leadership expect? What's their vision? How do we go forward? I think that if you don't have that, there's confusion. There might even be some apathy, like, I don't understand, I don't know, so I'm just not going to focus on it, right? So when you can identify communication very simply, all right, what types of communication do you need for your team? What does your team desire from you? And is it more communication, different communication, making sure the communication gets from the top down to the bottom? Whatever it may be, that's kind of where we landed as our big focus for year one. And it did make a difference, but we still have work to do. And that's the beauty of doing the Perceptic survey every year, is that we recognize this year's survey. We just got our results back. And that question is still not great. It's still not where we want it to be. So we're going to continue to focus on it. And I think after a year of action and then seeing it not be as strong as we wanted, that's powerful, because then we can go back to the leaders and say, all right, we did a lot, but you have to now admit it wasn't enough. So how can we up that game and do a little bit more?